Hello and welcome. This is Science Fiction Snob. Today I'd like to talk about Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. So we're going to talk about Ender's Game and also some of the Ender books, and we'll mention some of his other works just to round out a bit. But we're going to focus on these four, even though you only see three. So the four series that make up Ender's Game, the Ender's Game saga quartet, I guess you'd call it, are Ender's Game, Speaker for the Dead, which I don't have here. Someone has stolen my copy. I will kill them if I find them. Xenocide and Children of the Mind. So just a note, there was originally supposed to be 3 books. Xenocide, Children of the Mind is Xenocide is pretty long. Children of the Mind was supposed to be part of Xenocide, but it just was too big. So they put it into a second book. So, Ender's Game. It is what I call one of my snob books. Any inspiring science fiction snob needs to have read this book. It is that important. A classic science fiction that every snob should read. As a note, Ender's Game won the Hugo and Nebula Awards when it came out, back when those awards actually meant something. And Speak for the Dead also won the Hugo and Nebula Awards. So let's give a quick summary of the book if you don't know. There is a movie out of Ender's Game. The movie is okay. Catches some of the key elements of the story. Not as good as the book, of course. But I don't know. I'd say it's a reasonable adaptation of the book. So Ender's Game, in this Ender's universe, it's a few hundred years from present day, and there is a limited number of, the Earth is overpopulated. There are limited numbers of, you can have a maximum of 2 children. So Ender is a third. He is a child that has been born and his parents were given permission to have him. So he's kind of a pariah a little bit, because people look badly on these people, and but yet the government gives permission for him to his parents to have another kid. So the reason for that is that at this point in time, there's been 2 attacks by the Formics, they call them, an alien bug-like species that have attacked the Earth twice, and their technology superior to ours. No chance for us to beat them. So it's been 100 years since then, but now we're working on the 3rd attack, which is going to be a human fleet that is going to go and defeat the Formics on their home territory. Of course, this isn't known. It's just known to the people of Earth that we are working, trying to prepare for the next Formic invasion. So for this, humans are using children who are gifted children, of which Ender and his brother and sister, his older brother and sister, all are gifted. So the novel revolves around Ender's training, his being, as a young, 6-year-old, starting training, being chosen to be one of the, one of these military heroes who are going to save the world, and the various training that he goes through, teaching him tactics in battle school in space. That's primarily where the book goes around. Card is a very his big theme of the book is the lonely child savior, the intelligent child, the messiah, who is better than everyone else in many ways, and has to go through sacrifice in order to reach his full potential. So it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, you should read it. So that's the synopsis of Ender's Game. I don't want to give too much away. Well written, going between this sort of the battle scenes that Ender goes through, the tactics that he develops. They're all well done. Some of the leadership aspects that Ender shows for as a child. There's real life experience there. So the other 3 novels afterwards, Speaker of the Dead, also very good. You can tell it won the Nebula Award. So the other three take place after the end of the Formix War. So I'm not sure how much I want to give away, how much I want to give away. But anyway, Speaker for the Dead is a religion that comes up whereby someone is chosen or asked or chosen to speak for people who have died. And the whole idea of a speaker is that they give the unvarnished truth. They tell the good and the bad of the people that they're speaking for. So after Ender's game, in it, Ender finds he has a dream sequence, and after the Earth at this time during the war is united, but once the war with the Formix is over, the Formix are destroyed. Earth falls back into its sort of factions, its various countries and factional states, Russians, Chinese, Indians, all that stuff, sort of vying for power. And because all of the various, Ender is the leader of the fleet, but he has other children that are also very brilliant, and so each of these countries tries to take back their child in order for the upcoming battles that are going to go on in Earth. And Ender is he's too powerful for all that, and they, of course, they want to get rid of him. So they basically the plan has been to after all these Formic worlds have been eradicated, or the Formic's dead, then the plan is for humanity to colonize these worlds, because we're still basically stuck in our own solar system. So from there, Ender is sent out on one of the League colony ships, mainly to get rid of him. These colony ships use only light speed, so it's relativistic. So he goes on a trip and goes to these various visits these various colonies, looking for some place to settle down. So in all actuality, the three other books take place 3,000 years after the first book. So, but Ender's still alive. He has, he's been called by his dreams to a certain planet. He goes there and he finds a hive queen. That's what they call the bugs. He finds a little seed of them. So the book talks, Xenocide, not that book, but the Formics are wiped out. They're killed. So there's some guilt that comes with that for Ender. And so he does find a seed that contains one hive queen, so they haven't been wiped out. And from there he travels around to various planets until he finds a planet where he can allow the hive queen to live. Of course, you could say that this would be kind of, scary to some people on humans. The humans were this close to being wiped out, and now, they actually haven't been, their enemy hasn't been wiped out. So the last three books, Speaker of the Dead, Xenocide, and Children of the Mind, concern that. So primarily, Speaker of the Dead takes place on this planet where the Pequinos, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but they found another alien species, which is very low technology, but nice, not dangerous at all. And that's where Ender puts the hive queen. However, there's this virus that kills humans on this planet, but it's required for these Pequinos to it's required for them to grow to maturity and therefore procreate and keep their species going. So of course humans want to eliminate that planet as well. So this causes some problems. There's another major character, Jane, who is a computer intelligence that comes up from there. And these books, Speaker for the Dead and Xenocide and Children of the Mind, they kind of sum up the whole situation with Ender and kind of finish his story. I don't want to go into too much detail about them. I highly, highly recommend Ender's Game. Again, anyone who's serious about science fiction should have read this book already. But read it if you haven't, read it. From there, I would recommend Speaker for the Dead as well. And if you like those two books, then read Xenocide and Children of the Mind to finish off the series. Not as good as the first two, though. So that's all I want to talk about for Speaker of the Dead. I want to go into a little bit about Orson Scott Card. Unlike most of the people I review, he's still alive. He's written other books, and he has a lot of stuff coming up. So I will, in a future video, talk a bit about some of his other stuff, but I want to talk about a little bit of the Ender stuff right now before I go on. So let's talk about the other Ender books. There is a Shadow Saga, which is a quartet of books, primarily about, they go about Bean, and they talk about sort of what happens after Ender leaves, what happens in the wars that happen after the Formics are destroyed. And also, those are a little bit older books. More recently, Card has been working on a series called The Formic Wars. There's 3 books that are out: Earth Unaware, Earth Afire, Earth Awakens, and those are all about the first landing of the Formics. And Major Rackham is a major figure in teaching Ender in Ender's Game. So this is more about him and how he becomes, he's the great hero who stopped the second invasion, how he becomes that hero, and his background. The Formic Wars also has a second trilogy called The Swarm, the Hive, and the Queen, which are more about the Formic Wars. The Queen has not been written yet; it's planned. And also in the Shadow Saga, I guess there's 4 books right now, but there's also another Shadow Saga book planned. So we haven't heard anything about that. It's called, The Last Shadow is supposed to be called. So don't know about those yet, what the story is. It's supposed to be coming out sometime. So a little bit about, just to finally end off, a little bit about Orson Scott Card. As I said, he seems to like this lonely child savior theme within his stuff. He is a Mormon writer, which is a little bit unusual. You don't see a lot of Mormon science fiction writers. He's Mormon. He's kind of conservative-ish, which is fairly somewhat rare as well for science fiction writers. He's not really he's not a right-wing conservative. He's kind of conservative in his stuff, but he's in other aspects of his political views. You wouldn't consider him conservative. You'd consider him more liberal. However, that stuff doesn't really permeate his writing. He's not political. It's very old school science fiction, the kind that I like. So hopefully this gives you a little bit about Ender's Game. Again, highly recommended. Hope you check it out. If you enjoy it, you'll probably enjoy the rest of the series. And I've given you a little bit about the other Ender-related books so that you can decide to go and look at those too if you so wish. So, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Until the next time.